Welcome to episode 4 of Pulling from the Post-it Pile, where I share fun, encouraging, inspiring, and sometimes provocative things that have been shared with me over my career that I wrote down on a post-it for reference later. I'll be doing this every weekday until I find a job. So let's see what's on top of the pile today. This one comes. So I just was working with Trinity, and this comes from Trinity's grandpa. So shout out Trinity's grandpa for the wisdom. Uh, he who doesn't toot his own horn guarantees that nobody hears it. And I think the context we were talking about when this came up was around advocating for your own career. I think this is so very, very important. And especially now in the distributed world, it's even more important than it ever was before. So I always try to amplify this kind of behavior in any of the management relationships I'm working with or the leadership teams that I'm working on to kind of encourage and endorse people to advocate for their own careers. Now, I understand why this is necessary. We make the assumption that our leaders, our bosses, are very aware of all of the positive impacts we're making in the organization. That the truth is they just simply aren't. They can't be everywhere. And quite frankly, the only time anybody ever talks to them about your work is when you're failing to meet some sort of expectation, right or wrong. Whenever that happens, it's usually always the negative feedback that ends up getting trickling up to your leadership. So, for that reason, it's really important that you're advocating for your personal career advancement, and advocating for your success. And one of those things is making your positive impacts very well known to your leadership. I understand why people are reserved about that too. It can feel like it can come off as arrogant or conceited. And while I appreciate that, I really do. uh, I think there's a really easy way to skillfully balance that. And it's just really just making your positive impacts well known without adding any kind of polish or veneer to it. So, simple practice that I've done personally is when I get positive feedback in an email, I forward it. When I get positive feedback in a Slack or Teams channel, I screenshot it. And I always send it to my leader with the subject line, "For your records." They know what I'm doing. We've already talked about it, but I'm just creating this history with them of the positive impacts that I'm doing that can be referenced, because when it comes time to reference those, oftentimes it's hard to remember further than 3 months back. If I have any metrics that I'm measuring or that I'm being measured around, I'm also going to highlight those metrics and those results when they're in the positive, uh, to also make those apparent. So, just making a simple practice of making your positive impacts well known, well understood, highly visible to your leadership can go a long way to your success. If you found it helpful, encouraging, like and share. I really do